In December 2022, 24-year-old Maureen Gitau left her home in London and was never seen again. What began as a missing person case quickly turned into something far more sinister. The man behind her disappearance, Mark Moody, a 54-year-old with a dark secret. With no body ever found, investigators had to rely on chilling clues, phone data, surveillance footage, and forensic evidence. This is the heartbreaking story of how Maureen Gitau's trust led to tragedy and how justice finally caught up with her killer. Maureen was born in the year 1998 in Consolata Hospital, Nyeri County, in the beautiful country of Kenya. In the sun-drenched suburbs of Nairobi, Maureen Gitau grew up as a beacon of joy. Her mother's name was Jane Gitau, a lady who hailed from Njoro, a suburb in Nakuru County. Her father, Mr. Gitau's information remains quite anonymous. Maureen had an aunt who was already established in the United Kingdom at the time of her birth. Out of this, the auntie invited her mother Jane to the United Kingdom when Maureen was only 2 years old. The two, mom and daughter, moved to the UK in the hope of finding greener pastures. All the family members lived in the same house in Evelyn, Deptford, Southeast London, and as is normal with life, the move was marked with a set of challenges as well as opportunities. Maureen was the youngest of 3 siblings. She was known for her radiant smile and infectious laughter. Her mother Jane often recalled how Maureen would dance around their modest home, dreaming aloud of becoming a gentle nurse in a faraway land. Her inspirations were as bright as her spirit, and her family believed that nothing could extinguish her light. Maureen studied well at her schools in the United Kingdom, and as she turned into an adult, she wanted to support her mother and, of course, have a life of her own. During school holidays, she searched for jobs just to make some money. In summer 2022, she got a temporary cleaning job at the Oval Cricket Ground in London. The job was to last for 3 months. Her co-workers described her as friendly and jovial. She worked very hard. However, this same job would make her path cross with that of a male fellow cleaner, namely Mark Moody. He was 54 years old and lived in Woolwich, London. He never had a permanent job. He survived by working through temporary jobs, such as cleaning and being a caretaker, or any other odd jobs. Another very important detail I have to mention was that he had several criminal records with the police, but sadly, Maureen was not aware of this detail. After that summer, Moody found a job as a caretaker at Richmond House, a block of flats in Deptford. After her contract at Oval ended, she did not get a job immediately. However, the two stayed in touch through calls and text messages, but not as frequently as they did while working together at Oval. The conclusion was she stayed in touch with him, hoping that he might provide her with information in case other jobs emerged elsewhere. On December 5th, 2023, Maureen attended her aunt's birthday party in Deptford, Southeast London. She was in high spirits, laughing and sharing stories with relatives As the evening drew to a close, Maureen would receive a phone call. The family members didn't know the person on the other side of the line. However, she bid her family farewell. Stepping into the cold London night, she said that she was going back to see a friend. She always went to meet up with friends and came back, but sadly this time, things took a different twist. It was the last time everyone saw her alive. On the 6th of December, her family tried to contact her in the morning. Oddly, her phone was off and they could not reach her. Trying to push worries aside, they assumed that she was probably busy with friends and would later show up. But sadly, even on the 7th day of December, Maureen was still out there. This got the family worried. 5 days later, her family reported her missing. The Metropolitan Police investigation began, doing their best to piece together Maureen's last events. Searches and public appeals were made in the effort for her search. The last time she was seen, she was in black pants, a black top, and a black jacket as well. She wore black hair with some brown highlights at the edges. At the point, the police are urging the public to cooperate in case anyone had spotted her anywhere. December holidays went by and the family never acknowledged the festivities. They were devastated by the disappearance of their loved one, who was now missing for weeks. Days had really turned into weeks. Her mother was relentless as she continued to make public appeals requesting if anyone had seen her, they should come forward and shed some light. At this point, even the mom feared that their daughter had met the worst. Detectives pushed harder as they looked into the case, trying to piece together all details, and almost felt futile. First, they concentrated on checking phone records and the CCTV footages in the area, trying to find if any had captured her, either at public areas such as parks, bus stations, or even at doorbells. They had to look into 500 hours of CCTV footage, which meant it required a lot of time and resources, and of course great manpower. Fortunately, the search on the CCTV footages did not turn out fruitless. It led them to Richmond House, a block of flats where 54-year-old Mark Moody worked as a caretaker. CCTV footage revealed Maureen entering the building with Moody at around 10:30 p.m. of the night she disappeared, that is December 5th, 2022. Maureen was never seen leaving. This meant a breakthrough for the case. On top of that, after a second look into the phone records, it showed that Mark Moody was the last person who contacted Maureen right before her tragedy. This meant that he is the person Maureen had gone out to meet with. This marked him as the prime suspect into the case. On December 30th, he was taken to custody for thorough questioning, and of course, there was a lot of anomalies in his statement. He admitted to have met her, yet, but that was at a public place, and not at the apartments where he worked as the caretaker. He added that he traveled to Deptford by bus and they met at Deptford Bridge. They met at a bus station and they spoke for roughly 5 minutes. He later left after giving her £10 and some cigarettes and returned home. However, for the detectives, the statement was full of inconsistency. The police continued digging deeper into the CCTV footages. Inside the building, investigators uncovered a chilling sequence of events. Around 12 midnight, Moody was seen moving a large communal waste bin around the basement. Later, the same bin was found outside the cleaner's room, then returned to the bin store, covered with rubbish. The contents were collected and later taken to a processing plant, where it's believed that Maureen's body was incinerated. To be honest, Moody had been completely arrogant, not knowing that a building as big as such could never be without security cameras. However, even after seeing these pieces of incriminating evidence, he kept denying being involved in Maureen's disappearance. Despite extensive searches, her remains were never recovered. Out of this, he was charged with murder and 2 counts of perverting with justice. At the trial, Moody denied all the charges. However, the prosecution team presented a strong case against Moody based on circumstantial evidence. The case was based on the stand that the victim never made it out of that building alive. Dear viewer, how exactly had the villain lured the innocent girl? I know that's the question you have in mind. While at the party, that is the aunt's birthday party, Maureen received a call from Moody, wanting her to meet him at the Richmond house, where he worked as a caretaker. During the day, this meant that Moody had no access to the building at night. So, the two gained access into the premises by following a vehicle through the automatic gate at around 10:30 p.m. on the night of 5th December. Inside the cleaner's room, that's where he murdered her. Security cameras caught him moving around a large communal bin at the building's basement, his hands in surgical gloves. At around 11:30, he moved the large bin near the cleaner's room. He was captured drinking a beer sometimes later and would ride home on a bus. Network trails showed that he had taken Maureen's phone to his home. On the 6th of December, he returned to Richmond House and filled the bin with more waste. Unfortunately, on the 8th of December 2022, the contents in the said bin were collected and taken to a processing plant where it's believed Maureen's body was incinerated. After the authorities discovered that Maureen's body had been in one of those bins, a serious hunt was initiated. 125 trucks transporting 2,500 tons of garbage to Essex were inspected. 60 officers conducted the search, taking up to 20,000 more hours of effort into the case. Despite the effort, her body was never found. The conclusion was that the contents were collected and taken to a processing plant where it's believed that Maureen's body was incinerated. At the trial, Maureen's mother Jane addressed Moody directly. She said, "You are a coward and a cold-hearted murderer," she said. "You preyed on a vulnerable and sweet girl who would never hurt anyone. You've never even given us a reason why you took away her life." Jane described Maureen as beautiful and happy, and she brought joy to her family. She added, "Such a joyful child. I cannot explain the pain and the hole that has been left in my life," she concluded. In January 2023, Mark Moody was found guilty of Maureen's murder and sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 20 years. Judge Nicholas Lavender described his actions as contemptible and noted that he had lied repeatedly during their investigations. A legacy of love. Though Maureen's body was never found, her spirit lives on in the hearts of those who loved her. Her family continues to honor her memory, cherishing the dreams she held and the joy she brought into their lives. Maureen Gitau may have vanished in thin air, but she will never be forgotten. May her soul keep resting in eternal peace. And thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate that. And if you have any idea of a crime story that you would like our Murder Chronicles team to cover, please do suggest that on the comment section. In the meantime, please consider subscribing and keep supporting our team. And I hope to see you in the next one.